Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I am your host, Jack Hammer of the Santa Rosa Press Democrat. Today I'm here in Santa Clara where the 49ers wrapped up their offseason program. It was day 2 of their veteran minicamp, mandatory camp for the 49ers. So everybody in attendance, not everybody on the field though, but everybody was here. Really quick, before we get started, just want to shout out a member of the toolbox over there in the side. We have Lucas Pesci. Love this guy. He comes to us. He watches us all the time here on inside the 49ers, and he's in Austria. So it's awesome to get the international contingent on here. And Lucas, I hope you're doing well. Good to have you on board for today's show. So let's go ahead and get into it. You know, yesterday we talked a lot about Trey Lance and Sam Darnold, the quarterback competition that's ongoing. And yesterday Lance had what I felt was his best practice of the offseason, at least among those that were open to us in the media. That was the third practice of the offseason for us. Today, the fourth and final. And for Lance, today was a little bit of an up and down day. I think it was an up and down day for both of the quarterbacks, but for Lance in particular, he finished his day off today 8 of 12. He had an interception included in his incompletions, those 4 incompletions. One of them was dropped. You know, you look at the day and the way that it played out. The quarterback, Lance, was able to go out. He had all 4 of his throws during the open 7-on-7 period. The 49ers come out after individuals. The first thing that they've been doing during the mini camp here has been going into 7-on-7, which isn't something that they'll do very often once the season actually starts. They don't usually do 7-on-7 during training camp. It's more of an off-season part of their practice routine. But anyway, for today's practice, Lance was 4 for 4 during that 7-on-7 period. This is where we saw his best pass of the day as well. He was able to find George Kittle deep down the right side. Coverage was from Oren Burks. Kittle was able to get behind the linebacker. A really nice ball from Lance, hitting him in stride for what would have been a 60-yard touchdown. But a really nice throw there from Lance. There was also another play in that 7-on-7 period in which Lance wasn't able to find any build, but he opened good coverage downfield, and then ended up scrambling, in the 7-on-7 period. But then things became tougher for Lance as the offensive and defensive lines joined in. Once they got to that full team period, things got a little bit tougher. He was 4 of 8 during the team period of practice today. That's where he had the drop. That's where he had the interception. So other than that, he had the interception and a couple other incompletions plus the drop there. So you look at the day overall, the first couple of plays, Lance completed just 2 of his 5 attempts on the first 2 sets of plays. 2 of 5, both were short checkdowns to running backs, and then he also had that interception. And when Lance did try to go down the field, his pass to Christian McCaffrey was a little bit late and broken up by safety Avery Young. A couple of plays after the check down to McCaffrey, there was a check down to McCaffrey. Lance had his pass up batted down at the line of scrimmage. So he's working to his left side, tries to throw it that direction, not sure who the intended receiver was going to be. But Kerry Hyder Jr. was able to get his hands up, get in front of the ball, pick it off, and take it in the other direction. And this is something that has been an issue for Lance. We haven't seen him throw very many passes in the regular season, just 106 regular season attempts. But in those 106 passes, 5 of them were knocked down to the line of scrimmage. And that's a big number for a quarterback. You go back to the preseason games and stuff like that as well. There have been issues for Lance with getting the ball knocked down to the line of scrimmage. We saw that again today. Part of the reason that you have this occurring, at least, in today's game, today's practice, I should say, is Hyder's trying to come on the pass rush, and these defensive ends, defensive linemen are taught if they're not going to get there quick, that they need to slow down. They need to get their eyes on the quarterback, get into the passing lane, and get their hands up. And that's exactly what happened here. Lance staring down the left side of the field. Hyder not going to get there, sets his feet, gets in the throwing lane, and then as Lance begins to throw, gets his hands up, and makes a really nice reception to be able to grab that ball and take it the other way. Don't know if it would have been a pick 6, but no, I don't remember seeing anybody actually get a hand on him as he was going in the other direction. So that was a tough one for Lance there. And then you get to the move the ball period. The 49ers did that for the first time this offseason that we've been able to see. And Lance opened the first possession with a short throw to tight end Ross Dwelly. Nice play, sets up 3rd and 2. So now you got 3rd and short, and they decide that they're going to run play action with Lance coming off on a bootleg to his right side. Runs the bootleg, gets around the edge. Nobody's open downfield, so he takes off running on his own. and he comes up short of the first down. So it's a turnover. The 49ers end up theoretically punting at that point, and then the other team comes on the field with Sam Darnold. So that first move the ball period was a little bit rough for Lance. Then you get into the second attempt at this. Again, starts with a check down, this time to the running back, Jordan Mason. And then you have 3rd and 5, and this one isn't Lance's fault. He puts the ball right on Juwan Jennings along the left sideline, and Jennings just doesn't catch the ball. He struggled with the ball, making catches all day long, and he comes up with a drop there. So as far as the offense and the move the ball periods with Trey Lance, they were not able to pick up a first down. Make of that what you want. He was 8 of 12 today. And like I said, it's not a bad day. He has the interception. That's bad. It's the only interception that we've seen during the practice open to the media. It was a nice play by the defensive lineman. But overall, past the point of the 7-on-7 period, it was a little bit of a rougher day for Trey Lance today. And then you get over to Sam Darnold. Darnold also started off hot. He was able to hit all 5 of his attempts during the 7-on-7 period. The highlight for him was also a deep throw to a tight end, but instead of George Kittle, his was to Cameron Latu. The throw from Lance to Kittle was more outside of the numbers, like they're running a wheel route there. The one here today with Sam Darnold, that's right up the seam. Cameron Latu was able to split the defense, make the grab over the middle, take it in for what would have been a 60-yard touchdown. Remember, this is 7-on-7 stuff, no offensive lineman in front of them. Then you get into team period, and in that team portion of practice, you start off with a really nice completion from Darnold to Ayuk. Comes off of play action, and he's able to hit Ayuk on a deep out for a gain of about 25 yards. Really nice play, wide open throw. Shouldn't say wide open, but it was open enough that it wasn't covered very well there. But a really nice pitch and catch from Darnold to Ayuk. A couple plays later, Darnold has Snead open. He's running play action. He's booting off to his right side. It's tight coverage. He has Willie Snead open. The throw comes up short. Just not a good ball from Sam Darnold on that one. And then the next set of plays saw Darnold connect with Ty Davis Price on a short check down and Juwan Jennings on a deep hook over the middle. And then in between those two plays was a ball that hit Juwan Jennings in the hands that he dropped. It was a little short route, probably about 8 yards, a little stick route. Hit him, dropped it. That was one of 2 drops that he had on the day. Then you get into the move the ball period, and for Darnold, the first move of the ball period, the first throw that he had was a 3rd down attempt. He's going to Chris Conley, puts it on him. Conley drops it. It should have been a first down. It was going to be a short move play, but it was going to move the sticks. Conley drops it. Go on to the next attempt, much better. Darnold trying to get the ball to Danny Gray on an out route to the left side along the left sideline. Gray slips as he's making his cut, so that ends up as an incompletion. The problem on that one is that's a tough one. That's a ball that's got to come out on time. It was going to be open, and Darnold's making the throw expecting the receiver to be there, and the receiver's on the ground, so it's an incompletion on that one. So that's a tough one, very similar to the drops that we had with Lance today. And then you get to the next play, so now you're stuck with 3rd and long, and Darnold was able to layer a nice ball over the top to Ray McLeod. McLeod catching this pass in between the linebackers and the safety, just one of those nice in routes that the 49ers run. They had to get this ball downfield, probably about somewhere in the 15 to 18 yard range from Darnold to McLeod over the middle. Nice completion, move the sticks, and that was the end of Darnold's portion of move the ball period for the 49ers today. So there you have it with the top 2 quarterbacks at least. 8 of 12 for Trey Lance on the day. 9 of 13 overall for Sam Darnold. So you look at their numbers. Lance, 8 of 12, and including that number is an interception and a drop. For Darnold, you're at 9 of 13 with 2 drops. So it was one of those days. It was just it was a good day for both quarterbacks, but then there were some things that were a little rough as well. So there you have it. This is a good question from Bobby for 43 Niners, says Jack, real talk. Do you feel better or more hopeful about Lance this season than you did last season? I'll say this today. One of the things that I've talked a lot about is Trey Lance's inconsistency during the early portions of practice at times, where he's just missing open receivers and those type, not even open receivers, but just missing throws to the ball boys and stuff like that, stationary targets. He's looked really good. He looked really sharp yesterday. He looked really sharp today. He looked good again, like I said, in that 7-on-7 period, really sharp there. Just both these guys, both quarterbacks, I don't think either of these two have separated themselves at all. I do feel like Lance is maybe in a little bit better position than he was last year. Most of his throws are better, at least these last couple of days, than they were earlier on in camp, and aren't too bad. He definitely has some nice things that he can build upon going into the offseason, going into training camp. Right now, we're going into the summer break, so they're going to have about a little bit more than 40 days to sit on this, go back, work with their quarterback coaches and stuff like that. As far as Lance goes, I do think that he's looking better on some of the things that he's doing, and then there's some things that he still struggles with. I think timing is one of them. It's just a little inconsistent on the timing with getting the ball out like it's supposed to. So we'll see how it works out. It's one of those things where I feel like, again, both these quarterbacks are very similar. They both show some inconsistencies. They both show some ability to make the ball, get the ball down the field. Their numbers, if we look at their numbers over the 4 practices that were open to the media, they're going to be almost the same. So really similar quarterbacks in that regard. The notorious JV comes in. Did we see any glimpses of what Braden Willis could be, Jack? Not much today. Willis had one catch. It was just a short route, but he was able to get it and get it upfield. But we haven't really seen much of Braden Willis. I know he looked really good the first couple of days that we were here, but during mini camps, kind of faded a little bit. We're not seeing him quite as much as on that one in terms of Braden Willis. And then in terms of the other quarterback, Brandon Allen, he'd been Mr. Superstar throughout the first couple of days of OTAs that we were here for, and then finally yesterday had a couple of incompletions. Today we saw Allen get the most snaps that he's had during team drills all off season, and now you know why Brandon Allen was available and why he is currently the 3rd quarterback on the 49ers roster, really 4th behind Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, and then you get to Brandon Allen. He's a good veteran, but today, like I said, facing the defense with an offensive line in front of him, he had I think it was 8 snaps today during the team drills. Brandon Allen was 2 of 10 on the day today. Really kind of showed why he was there when the 49ers were looking for a quarterback. Wheels came off for him today, and I think, like I said, a lot of that just has to do with having a defensive and offensive line in front of you completely changes it. It's one thing to make throws as a quarterback when there's nobody challenging you and it's just dropping back, looking at the coverage and winging it. But then once you get guys, pressure around you, it becomes a different ball game, and we saw that today with Brandon Allen. Also, really quick, Brock Purdy, we saw him on the field. He continues to work his way back from that offseason surgery to repair the torn UCL in his throwing arm. He was out on the field yesterday doing some work on the side field. We saw him out again today doing some work out on the side. We didn't get to see him making any throws, but we saw Purdy out there doing some running, definitely some movements with his arm and those types of things. But we haven't seen him actually be able to throw a ball. So nothing really to report there on Brock Purdy with his return. But we did get to see him a little bit on the side field, like I said. Really quick, Bobby coming in. He says, opinion, why who would he have won the quarterback competition? I think you're asking about Brock Purdy from last year. If he was healthy and participating in OTAs and minicamp, in my opinion, would he have won the quarterback competition? I can't speak to that. And part of the reason I can't speak to it is because I don't know where he is right now in terms of the health of his arm. If Brock Purdy if everything's fine with his arm and nothing's changed in his ability to get the ball down the field or make the same throws that he was making last year, I think he fits in just fine with this offense, and he would have been doing well. There's not very many throws that go deep down the field in this offense. You look at the deep ball that Trey Lance hit today. That's a ball that we've seen Brock Purdy complete. The deep ball down the middle of the field that Sam Darnold hit. That's a throw that we've seen Brock Purdy hit. So it just depends on if he's healthy. If he's fully healthy and able to play the game the same way he did last year, making the adjustments to the game that he needs to make, I think he's going to be fine. So we'll see how that plays out for Brock Purdy. But again, Lance today, Darnold, not a bad day for either of those two quarterbacks. And then let's move off of the quarterbacks a little bit. Let's get to the guys who are catching the ball. Juwan Jennings. This was, third and Juwan, makes a lot of big plays for this team. Struggled today to hold on to the ball, struggled to hold the ball yesterday. This is a guy who drops a lot of passes in practice. Today he dropped 2 of 5 targets, one from Lance, one from Darnold. So he was an equal opportunity dropper today. The one good part for him is that the drop that he had from Darnold was a little bit earlier in practice, so he was able to come back. The very next play, they ran him on a deep curl route over the middle, about 15 yards down the field. Darnold was able to hit him, and then Jennings, after holding on to the ball, was able to get through the secondary untouched and get to the sideline and race up the field for what might have been a touchdown, or maybe right at the, tackled inside the 5. But it was a really nice job of Jennings having a mistake. That drop was a bad drop that he had on the throw from Darnold. Comes back from that and makes a nice play over the middle. But Jennings is a guy the 49ers really rely on a lot, and he does have a tendency to drop the ball. Usually in big situations, he's pretty good with it, though, but today was not one of his better days. Cameron Latu, the rookie tight end, he's been quiet. We haven't really seen him do much on the field at all in terms of as a receiver during these offseason workouts. Today, he made his presence known. He split the defense on a deep seam route up the middle of the field, and Darnold hit him in stride for a big play right down the middle. Would have been a 60-yard touchdown because nobody touched him after the catch. But again, that's 7-on-7, so take that for what it's worth. But it was nice to see Latu not only make a catch, he had a catch last week as well, but not only just to make a catch, but to make a big catch, to see him get up the field. You could see prior to the snap, the way that the defense was aligned, that it looked like there was going to be a chance for him to break it open. Darnold did a really good job looking to his left and coming right back to the rookie down the middle. The rookie was lined up on his right side. He looks to the left, comes back, drills it down the middle to Latu for a touchdown. So really nice play there. Really nice to see Latu, though, like I said, make a big play, make a splash play here during the camp as they get ready to go off to summer vacation before training camp. The rookies, though, will be staying in Santa Clara a little bit longer, so Latu will be getting a little bit more work before he heads off on his vacation. Another guy who's really shown well over the course of this offseason. He showed well last year as a rookie, but he continues. I feel like he's had a strong offseason workout program is Jordan Mason. Mason's continued to look good as a receiver. I think we all know what he can do as a running back. This is a guy who's a tough running back who can cut, hit the hole. He's explosive in the ground game. For him taking that next step to be a fullback in Kyle Shanahan's offense, you've got to be able to catch the ball. Today, for the second day in a row, he had 3 targets come his way, made the reception all 3. So you look at Jordan Mason over the last 2 days, six targets, 6 completions. Obviously nothing really down the field, but he's holding on to the ball. He had a touchdown yesterday. Good news there for Jordan Mason, and that speaks positively for his potential as the team goes into the offseason, into training camp, and possibly being able to step up and take on more responsibility in the running game. So the notorious Gav coming in with another one that I want to hit on really quick. This is a good one. Mentioned this a little bit yesterday, but he asks if this year is going to be the best version of Brandon Ayuk that we've ever seen. Can he actually be guarded if he was in a phone box? He's been really good. Today there was 1 or 2 times where he might have been open. The ball didn't go to him. There was one in particular. It was Sam Darnold. It was the one where he boots out. It was during team drills. Darnold fakes, boots out to his right, and he actually holds onto the ball and scrambles. And Ayuk's running a crosser from the other side of the field. But because of the coverage, he stops, and that's what they're supposed to do. Those receivers, as you're running across the field, if that guy that's covering you underneath you is just running with you, stop. You're going to be wide open. Quarterback's got to be able to see you and make that throw back to you. He did that today. It was perfect. Darnold didn't see him, ran it up the field for a gain of a couple yards, but Ayuk was wide open there. And I do think that we're looking at possibly seeing the best version of Brandon Ayuk that we've ever seen as a member of the 49ers. And that'd be a great addition for the team to have him be able to fulfill his full potential and really be able to take advantage of his talents there. Taylor wants to know if there's a possibility that we see both tight ends make the team. I think there is. It just depends on what they're able to do in the running game as far as blocking. I think with Braden Willis, he's a little bit further down. He's mostly getting reps with the third unit right now. I think with Willis, the question mark there, I think of the receiver, if they're looking at these guys as just pure receivers, Willis is a pretty good receiver. The issue with Willis is more in his blocking. Some of it's his footwork. Some of it's his hand placement, those types of things, just listening to the coaches, working with them during their individual portion over these last couple of days. I think Latu makes the team. As far as Willis, he's in a competition. It depends because you've got Charlie Werner and you've got Ross Dwelly. Those are the veterans that are here. Dwelly gives you something on special teams. They know that. So if he makes the team, if the 49ers carry 4, I think there's a strong possibility that he does. If they only carry 3, then you're probably not going to see both of the tight ends make the team. If they carry 4, though, I think both do. If they carry 3, only one makes it. I think that's the biggest thing. This is crazy. When has anyone ever saw Brock in a 49er uniform throw a 50 to 60-yard TD pass? Yeah, I mean, he had a 40-yarder down the middle of the field to George Kittle that was going to Ray McLeod. You don't really see very many throws over 30 yards in the NFL. The percentage of those throws are lower. But it's good for Trey Lance. He's hit a couple of those in the preseason. We haven't seen him get a chance to really do that yet in the regular season. He did have a really nice touchdown pass, though, against the Houston Texans. So we'll see how that works out. Will Darnold get designed runs like Lance? That's a good question, Andrew. If you look at the way that Carolina used Sam Darnold last year, the answer to that question would be absolutely yes. That's just based off of what they did last year. Darnold, especially if you go back and watch the game against the Detroit Lions, a lot of zone read, a lot of zone runs from Sam Darnold. So the answer to this question is yes. Whether it's Sam Darnold or Trey Lance, you're going to get a good number of designed runs out of the quarterback position there. In terms of Brock Purdy staying in Santa Clara to continue his rehab, the answer to that is no. He's going to actually, he mentioned this, when he spoke with the media last 2 weeks ago, the opening week of OTAs, Purdy said that he is going to be going back to Jacksonville. He'll be in Jacksonville for workouts during this portion between minicamp and the start of training camp. So he'll be getting back. He's expecting to go back there, do some work with his quarterback coaches, trying to get his rhythm and get his throwing motion back. So that's where Brock Purdy is in terms of this offseason program. We're going to get the Jake Moody there. Elijah Mitchell continuing to not practice. Elijah Mitchell continuing to work on a side field. That was one of the things that we talked about yesterday at the end of practice. Didn't practice today either. Still, again, working on the side as well. Jesse wants to know, I know it's early, but is Sam showing anything different than what we have seen him to be thus far in his career? The only thing that we've seen different is we haven't seen an interception out of him. Again, it's only 4 practices, 2 in OTAs, 2 in minicamps. At least in the minicamp practices, you actually got offensive linemen in front of them more. But still even that's limited. Like today, 13 passes, 8 of those with the offensive line in front of them. Yesterday about the same number. But that's the only thing that we haven't seen an interception. We did see a near interception yesterday. I think for me, when I look at the way that these quarterbacks have played, again, I mentioned it to somebody here after practice. These guys, I said it before, and I still continue to say it. There's not much separation between Lance and Darnold in terms of the results that they're putting on the field, it's clear when Trey Lance throws the ball that he's got a better arm. He definitely has more velocity on the ball. One of the things that I've seen from him is noticed during the last couple of days in particular, the ball is definitely has a better rotation. Not as much. There's very few times that the ball is wobbling. That's been a big topic, and that's usually when he's kind of overthrowing the ball. But when he just hits back and he's throwing the ball in rhythm, Lance has been really good. And then as far as Darnold, like I said, I don't know. It's been too little. He hasn't turned the ball over, so from that standpoint, I think that's a little bit different. But we'll get more of an idea on him as we get there. But I like that question. Lucas wants to know, what do you think the biggest weakness is on the team without the quarterback position? The biggest weakness on the team right now is I would say, depth at the wide receiver spot in terms of those guys being able to make plays. Again, Juwan Jennings dropping the ball all over the place today. Danny Gray is a guy who runs around and makes a lot of noise, but at the same time, when the quarterbacks do go to him, he's falling down. So, he has not been impressive at all. We haven't seen Deebo Samuel on the field yet. We know that Deebo and Brandon Ayuk, you have a couple of good pairs there, but outside of that, it's been a little bit of a struggle there, I think. The offensive line is holding up well. We're going to get to that in a minute. No updates on Javon Kinlaw. I didn't see him on the field today. I didn't see him on the field yesterday. I'm not sure where he was. Let's see what else we've got going on. All right, who is the odds-on favorite to be tight end 2? That's a tough one because last year the tight end 2 was Warner, Charlie Warner for the most part. He's really struggled to catch the ball. So I don't know. At this point, I think it's hard to say. Haven't really gotten enough of a look at these guys and team. We'll get a better idea of that once we get the training camp there. So I'm gonna move on to some of the other things that stuck out really quick, and then we'll get back to your questions. If you ask something that you want me to hit up, there's always a super chat or shoot that question back if I missed it. But let's just go ahead. There's a couple of the questions you guys asked are included in here. Kerry Hyder Jr. already mentioned this, but he's been playing with the first unit these last couple of days in place of Clelin Ferrell. He had a big play today with the interception on Lance. It was just a nice play. Like I said, while breaking it down when I was talking about Lance, it was just one of those situations, he's not going to get to the quarterback, so he settles down his feet, raises the eyes of the quarterback, gets into the throwing lanes, gets his hands up. The ball just hits him just right. He's able to get it and cradle it and bring it down. It didn't hit him, and I know I saw a couple of reports. Somebody said it was high, whatever, different. They've hit him in different places. The ball hit him and hit his hands, and he was able to bring it right down. I'm not sure if he caught it here, but he definitely blocked it here, and then the ball ends up here. So it was a nice play by Hyder. So that definitely showed up well. Good to see that play from him. He's going to be a nice depth piece for the 49ers at defensive end, just as he was, I think, in 2020 and last year. The guy that stood out to me that I want to hit on really quick is, this goes over the defensive side, is Deshaun Jameson. Now, you might not know who Deshaun Jameson is, partly because he was an undrafted rookie free agent out of Texas. But he's looked really good these last couple of days. During the OTA portion of this offseason, the cornerbacks aren't really able to work too much with their hands. They can't really be physical with the wide receivers. That goes away once you get to minicamp. In minicamp, it's as physical as you can get without pads on. That's why you've got the offensive lineman involved all the time. You've got the defensive lineman on the field. That's why you have so much more of a team period. And Jameson really outperformed Darrell Luter Jr. over these last couple of days. Today, he didn't give up any receptions. They targeted him 4 times. Didn't have any catches in his coverage. Broke up a pair of passes. Yesterday, Jameson broke up a pass as well. This is a guy that's been all over the field the last couple of days. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's able to do. If he's able to take this into this break that they're going to have now. I know he's going to be here in Santa Clara for the next for a little bit longer than the veterans. But can he carry this over into training camp? And can he really compete and put himself in a position to make the roster possibly even, or at least be a guy that gets held back onto the practice squad? Because he's looked really good. And like I said, he's he's been all over the field. He's all around the ball today. Every time it seemed like there was a throw with that, when he was on the field, the ball was coming in his direction and he was making plays on it. So Deshaun Jamison, that's a name to keep an eye on as you get into training camp. Undrafted rookie Frazier out of Texas. Really strong guy, looking really good today. Back to the wide receiver room. I talked about this earlier, but Danny Gray, no catches today. He was targeted 4 times. His worst play came when he was running an out route. Gets to the top of his break. He starts to make his cut to the left, falls down as he's getting into it. This is the kind of stuff that you see for Danny Gray. Danny Gray is a guy who, when the ball doesn't come his way, is very vocal, very demonstrative. But unlike a guy like Brandon Ayuk who does that and can get away with it, Brandon Ayuk does that, but Brandon Ayuk also makes plays. Danny Gray yells and screams and throws his hands up and all this other shit, but he doesn't make plays when he's given a chance to make plays either. So maybe make plays before you start to complain about the ball not coming to you. That might be a good way to go about it. And then Ray McLeod, he was a really solid 4th guy for the 49ers last year. Did a really good job when he had to play in place of Deebo Samuel. There was very little drop off. He even had a long touchdown run, if you remember, against Washington. He had a really nice catch today in that move the ball period. Like I said, it was 3rd and long. Had a big catch from Sam Darnold there. It was a throw in between. It was a throw behind the linebackers in front of the safeties. Moved the sticks. It was a really nice play there from Ray McLeod. So wanted to make sure we shouted him out. D. Winters, the rookie linebacker, he's continued to impress and get better as this offseason's gone along. That's one of the things about these workouts. When we were here the first day of OTAs, even after the second one, I was talking about Jalen Graham being the more impressive of the rookie linebackers. During rookie minicamp, I actually said I felt like Graham was the best of the linebackers on the field that day. But what we've seen is D. Winters continues to be doing well today in pass coverage. He had a completion right in front of him, but he was right there to make the play on Ty Davis Price on a short check down throw. This is a tough spot. He's a 6th-round draft pick. That linebacker room for the 49ers is extremely deep. You've got, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw. They're not participating right now in any of the team portions of practice, really not even participating in practice. And then you look at that first unit that they're putting out there is Warren Burks, Marcelino McCurry-Ball, and Curtis Robinson. So you kind of think those are your next 5, right? And then you've got D. Winters in that next group. So we'll see if he's really fighting up an uphill battle to make it, I think, out of onto that 53-man roster. I think special teams play is going to have to play a big role in it, and we'll see how he can progress through. Jake Moody, the kicker, hit all of his kicks today. The most impressive one, though, is they backed them up. It was from where I was standing. I wasn't sure if it was 63 or 58. I found out later that a couple different people said it was from 58 yards out. So we'll go with 58 instead of 63. Well, regardless, 58, 63 yards, it doesn't matter. That's not a kick that you would see the 49ers even attempt in a practice over the last couple of years. Definitely not a kick you'd see them really attempt in a game unless it was the end and it was all they had. It was the only hope they had of winning it was to try a 58-yarder. But he was able to nail the 58-yarder. It was into a slight breeze. Probably could have been good from another 5 yards out. But here's the thing with Jake Moody. You can tell the difference between his kicks and those of Zane Gonzalez because when he hits the ball, it's just there's a different thud. When he hits the ball, there's a definite thud. That ball is coming off of his foot like a rocket. Now we'll see how well it translates, but I think Jake Moody is going to be a threat when it comes to the kicks. Obviously, that's the main thing that they brought him in for. But the other side of this is the ability to put the ball and back up your opponent. Last year, the 49ers didn't have a much of an ability to kick it deep and for teams to fair catch, whatever. They were not very good at that portion of the game on the kickoff coverage. Now you've got a guy who has got a boomer that can really blow it out with that new rule in which, a fair catch inside it, gives the opponent the ball to 25. I could see a situation where Jake Moody kicks the ball a mile high inside the 5-yard line or around the goal line, and you see a lot of the other team starting off on the 25, which for this 49ers defense would be a big break for them. So that's that. And then we had a couple of folks asking about the offensive line, and the offensive lines looked really good overall, I feel. No Trent Williams in terms of team period. So Jalen Moore is taking the reps over there at left tackle. Colton McKivitz, though, wanted to shout him out. He's looked really solid in pass protection. He's a new guy on the block, getting in all the reps, and he's looking really good. Right now he's been going up against Drake Jackson. Today was Kerry Hyder, both of those two, and he's been able to neutralize them both over these last couple of days. So he's really shown out well, I think, for Colton McKivitz. So that's good. Spencer Burford looks really good as well. I think that starting offensive front looks solid. And then you get to the backups of second unit, and to have a guy like John Feliciano, who right now is the center on that second group, that's a big improvement for this team. And then Matt Pryor is working at the second group out at right tackle. I think having two veterans like that, especially a guy like Feliciano who's played at a high level, be able to be your backup center as well as work at both guard spots. I've noticed him working at guard during the individual portion, and then once they get into the team stuff, then he slides over and he's working at center. So wanted to make sure I shouted out those two as well, John Feliciano and Matt Pryor, taking the reps with that second unit. So that's we're about almost 40 minutes into it. Let's see if there's any other questions or anything that we can get into. Want to make sure that we get your questions answered. So let's start off with this one. Taylor wants to know how the cornerback depth looks so far. I'm not a believer in Diomedor Lenoir yet. Taylor, you got to jump on board. If you look at the numbers, Diomedor Lenoir last year played at a very high level. If you look at his numbers, he was on par, especially over the second half of the season. When you go back, here's what you got to do. Because remember, when Lenoir first started early in the season, he was playing a lot in the slot. So if you go and you look at what Diomedor Lenoir did as an outside corner last year, which is the role that they're going to look to play him in, he did really well last year. I mean, it's up there with the numbers that we saw from Charvarius Ward on the other side. Now, Ward makes big money, right? Because he was a big free agent signing. But Lenoir is building himself up, I think, to that type of a level. It was, Diomedor Lenoir, you should believe in him. He's been looking really well and performing out here. Samuel Womack working with the second group the last couple of days. He started off during OTAs. He was working with the first group. Ambry Thomas stepped into that role these last couple of days, and Womack's been working with the other group. So we'll see where that works. But he's looking good as well. Ken Muller wants to know Jacour Pearson. I heard the Flyers brought him back. I don't know if they signed him yet, but there was a lot of talk over the beginning of the week because the 49ers has reported that Jack Cohn was going to be coming in to throw some passes in a workout today. That's what was reported by Aaron Wilson out of Houston. So that brought up the Trey Lance trade, all these things. Well, the reality is the reason that Jack Cohn was being brought in for a workout today, other than maybe they're going to try to maybe he comes in and they replace Brandon Allen. But other than that, the main reason I think that Jack Cohn was brought in today was because Jacour Pearson was coming in for a workout. There was actually about 6 guys that went through it. I don't know who they all were. I definitely recognize Pearson. He's easy to recognize between the haircut and the height. But there was about 6 of them total. Not sure how that all went. While we were out there, you could see them on the field, but mostly what they were doing was stretching and get ready for their workout. That was going to take place after we left the field. Bomberti says 8 of 12 isn't bad. No, it's not bad. I don't think it was a bad day. The interception's bad. 4 of 8 during team drills. One of those being an interception, one of them being a drop. So you look at maybe 5 of 8 right there. Yeah, not bad. Sam Darnold, 4 of 8 as well. Would have been 6 of 8 without a couple of drops. That's the only real difference. Again, these guys are just, there's not a guy that's above the other one. This competition between those two is going into the offseason, going into training camp. Taylor wants to know if Jameson's playing at nickel or outside. He's playing on the outside. He is playing on the boundary. He is not playing inside. Does the Marshall running back look good? That's Kalen LeBourne. He's not catching my eye the way that some of these undrafted running backs have the last couple years. Don't agree with what Greg Papa said about Brandon Allen. That I do not agree with. He Again, it's one thing to make throws when nobody's pressuring you. Today we got a lot of pressure around him, and Brandon Allen looked like the guy that was the backup and not a very good quarterback prior to coming to the 49ers. This is a guy who I think Brandon Allen, when he was in Denver, I think he was like around in the 50s in terms of the completion percentage. So anyway. Let's just see really quick, just to wrap this up, just kind of looking through. Jay Mill wants to know if it concerns me that Lance is not separating himself from Darnold. 2 years versus 2 months in a system and no separation between the two. Again, this is one of those things. I said before they got together that when you watch them on film, when I watch Sam Darnold on film, I see a lot of the same kind of splash plays here and there that I see out of Trey Lance. I don't think either one of these guys, there's a lot of similarity between the two. They're both third-round draft picks for a reason, and that's because they have some good traits that they haven't completely put together yet. I think that right now, if you had to pick a quarterback to go into a game, if you had to pick between these two to start a game on Sunday, you're going to go with Trey Lance because he's the younger of the two, and I think he came in with the advantage, and Darnold hasn't beat him out. So you can look at this both ways. You can look at it as if they aren't separating themselves, and that's a bad thing for Trey Lance, considering he's been in the system for a couple of years instead of just 2 months. Or you could look at it at the standpoint of one guy's been in the NFL for 5 years, the other one's been in the NFL for three, and the younger guy who hasn't played very much is still holding his own. So, I look at this thing and it's just like it's very similar between these two. And I've been saying, I said after OTAs last week that you can't say that one guy's above the other. If there's anybody that said one quarterback's above the other based on the play that they're seeing on the field, then you got to check yourself for some biases. I still hold on to that. I don't think there's been anything that's separating the two. Both guys pushing the ball down the field more often during the mini camp portion of the practice than what we saw of them before. So from that standpoint, it's pretty good. But I'm not concerned right now with where Lance is compared to Darnold at all. I like what I've seen out of Trey Lance especially these last couple of days. Like I said, yesterday I thought was his best practice of what we've seen. Today, not as good, not bad, but just not as good as yesterday. And I think both quarterbacks played okay. Both of them really good in 7-on-7. I thought Darnold was better than Lance when it came to the team period. But again, it's minuscule, the difference there. In terms of Jack Coletto, haven't seen anything from him. Remember that they're really not able to get up there and smash right now as far as fullbacks. So haven't really seen much out of the jackhammer, Jack Coletto yet. But I think the goal is there's a possibility that you get him onto the practice squad. We'll see. Reports of Clelin Ferrell sacking Sam Darnold 3 times on 11-on-11s. Do you remember who was blocking him on the O-line? That didn't happen because Clelin Ferrell didn't take any of the reps today. He wasn't on the field. In terms of in the team portion, he was on the field. He might have been on the field during the individual portion, but when they went to team, it was Drake Jackson and Kerry Hyder Jr. working with that first group. So as far as Clelin Ferrell, I did not catch that. I didn't see him on the field with the team period. So if it happened, it was later on. So we'll see. I don't think that Darnold was sacked 3 times. I didn't see that. There was a couple of times for both quarterbacks where they're holding onto the ball longer and there's a throw that comes out late. But I think I see that with both of the quarterbacks. I think I see that with both. I saw a little bit of that from both today. So that's it. Real quick, just to wrap this thing up. Again, the quarterback competition. This thing's heading into the off season, into training camp. We got a break here, but today, the final day of minicamp, you have Trey Lance, 8 of 12, an interception and 1 drop. Sam Darnold, 9 of 13, a pair of drops, quarterbacks fighting that out. So we'll see how this whole thing works out when we get to training camp. Hey, thank you all so much for tuning in. Take it for what it's worth. If you guys can do me a favor before you leave, please make sure you hit that like button if you haven't done so already. And then if you're watching this and you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the updates that are coming. We'll get videos from practice as far as offensive linemen, some offensive lineman videos. You'll get some defensive drill stuff. You'll see some funny stuff from today with Sam Darnold falling on his rear end and some bad throws from him. So we will see how it works out. I do have a super chat though I've got to hit before I run off. Jen wants to know, how did Purdy do last year compared to Lance today? I would say Brock Purdy last year compared to what we saw today from Trey Lance is better. Brock Purdy's performance in training camp last year was one that I know what I saw from other people that were here. Brock Purdy's performance during training camp last year wasn't bad. He did a good job. Had a really nice deep ball. You want to talk about deep balls? He had a really nice deep ball to Brandon Ayuk down the left sideline for a touchdown one day in camp and so on. I think overall, I think that Brock Purdy's performance in training camp last year was maybe a smidge better than what we've seen out of Trey Lance and Sam Darnold so far. And I think you look at what he was able to do once they got into the games at the end of the season and how well he performed there. So we'll see how it plays out after that. So thank you very much, Jan, for the super chat. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Like I said already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, keep it locked into the channel. We'll be doing some fun shows coming up. Got some videos that I'm thinking about for tomorrow. Definitely have a lot of videos that we're going to be uploading here today in the coming days as well from camp. So keep it locked in here to Inside the 49ers with Jack Hammer for all your 49ers breaking news and updates as they happen. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be talking with you soon.